Chapter 226. Mr. Walton is domineering. However, the Morning Star newspaper is a powerful newspaper. They haven't reported any fake news over the years. I asked around and found out that their editor wrote the news herself. I'm afraid this news might blow up. She smiled calmly. It's all right. I believe that William Walton can handle it well. Earl patted her shoulder. That's true. The other party is Mr. Walton. I think that my mother is just thinking too much. Laura, if there is anything you need my help with, you must tell me. I will do my best to help. Of course, it would be best if you can stay safe and sound. All right. Go back and help me thank Auntie first. Another day, I'll go to your house to look for food. He smiled. Sure. The two talked for a while before they got off the carriage and watched Earl leave. When she returned to the office, Sabrina looked at her with an extremely dubious gaze. She couldn't help but crease her eyebrows as she smiled. Teacher Sabrina, can we not look at people this way? It's because they're creepy. Sabrina laughed. Teacher Green, you have become the most envious of the girls in school just now. Wow, don't be too romantic. With this tempo, close your doors tonight. There will be a tough battle to fight. She was stunned for a moment before reacting. She said in a speechless manner, Teacher Sabrina. Mark laughed as he covered his ears. Don't listen. Don't listen to your words. She then sat down on her seat and said, I am really going to be defeated by all of you. She took out her phone and sent a message to William Walton. Just now, Aunt saw the news and was worried about me, so she got Earl to come visit me. All this while, I have always felt that no one around me seemed to care about me, but now I don't know if it is because my mentality has changed, but I feel that the world has become warmer. William Walton looked at the message, curled his lips, and replied, Ever since I had you, my world has also become warm. This should be a matter of mentality. You have learned to open your heart to others. She put down the phone, scratched her forehead, and smiled. Maybe. She took a short lunch break for a few minutes before her cell phone rang. She opened her phone and received a message from Fiona. She turned on the phone and saw a photo inside. This was the photo of her and Earl chatting in the car just now. The two of them were looking at each other and laughing. If someone else had sent her a photo like this, she might not have minded. However, this person was Fiona. She had seen how stubborn Fiona was before. She must have had a purpose in sending this photo to her. She got up and left the office with her phone. She found Fiona's number and dialed it. Fiona picked up the call quickly. She spoke politely. Fiona, I would like to ask, why did you send me this photo? Fiona's voice was cold. Didn't you say that you don't have any other relationship with Earl? You're just neighbors, friends, brother and sister? We were originally. Is there a problem? If your relationship is that simple, then why did you meet in the car? Laura, you're so beautiful. Even if the Mr. Walton doesn't want you anymore, you still have many choices. Why do you still have to seduce him? He's been through so much with me. How can you rob him? Hearing these words, she couldn't help but frown. A reunion? Seduction? These words were too unpleasant to listen to. She said unhappily, No one wants to snatch him away from you. My friendship with Earl is very clean. Please do not speak carelessly. Today, it wasn't Earl who came to find me on his own accord. It was Aunt who saw the news about me and was a little worried about me. Furthermore, William Walton and I did not break up. We are good. Fiona was enraged. Mr. Walton has already announced the marriage ceremony. Do you think I'm blind too? You want to use this information that the whole world knows to deceive me? When Mr. Walton went to eat with you that day, I didn't understand. Mr. Walton is such a strong person. How could he fall in love with a commoner girl like you? At that time, I already felt that you guys wouldn't last long. As expected, my guess was correct. The rich people are making fun of you. Even at a time like this, you're still lying to yourself and you're using these lies to deceive me? If you are truly that confident, then prove it to me. As long as you help me make up with Earl, I believe that you and William Walton have not broken up yet. She stared at Fiona and was a little speechless. The two of you breaking up is your problem. Why do I have to prove that the me in your eyes did not break up with my boyfriend, and so I help you reconcile with your ex-boyfriend? If you don't help me, that means you have a guilty conscience. She was a bit speechless. She let out a deep breath. What kind of nonsense was this logic? Then think what you want. I still want to work. I hope you won't send me those silly photos again. And if the reporters get those pictures? What do you want to do? I want to find a reporter to expose that. It's not Mr. Walton who cheated and found another woman. It's you. You are the one who is shameless. No wonder Earl didn't want you. You're a lunatic. She hung up. Fiona was a little angry and immediately called back. Laura Green did not pick it up. In this case, what would she say when she answered? She really didn't want to quarrel with these paranoid people. Just in case, she sent the photo that Fiona sent over to him. Very quickly, William Walton called. He purposely said, This photo isn't very clear, but you can still see that when you're with other men, your smile is very sweet and pleasant. Laura rolled her eyes. This guy. This is from Fiona. Earl's girlfriend? It's the ex-girlfriend, she said, sounding annoyed. It doesn't matter to me, but why would she do that? She told William Walton everything that Fiona had just told her. On the other side of the phone, William Walton chuckled. Brainless. She was speechless. She said, Why are you cursing me? I'm scolding her. You scolded well, she said in a serious tone. William Walton smirked. She was too stupid, and she's still delusional enough to think of robbing while the fire was still burning. Do you think she'll really post those things? I keep having the feeling that if she publishes these photos at this time of the day and a reporter comes to our school to verify it, it would be bad for me. Logically speaking, it would be bad for you if she were to publish these photos and spout nonsense. She was depressed. It's all your fault. Why did you show your love when you had nothing to do? You know it would be bad if you always show off. Oh, this time. I didn't expect I'm so unlucky. Don't worry, with me here no one will take revenge on you. Chapter 227 moved. Finishing the call with William Walton, she went back to her office and searched the webpage for half an afternoon, but didn't find any news about her. After work in the afternoon, she returned to the Walton family. When she was eating, she asked, "Did you do anything? How could someone as extreme as Fiona not have done anything?" "It's very simple. She needs a doctor. I found Earl." "Why are you looking for Earl?" "Right now, Fiona will definitely take this opportunity to threaten Earl. It's only natural that he would solve the problem that he caused you. Fiona will definitely take advantage of this situation to coerce Earl. That's a problem between them, so as long as he doesn't resolve Fiona's problem clearly, he will always be implicated by this relationship in the future. I'm giving him a chance so that he can completely get rid of Fiona." She pursed her lips. "You're the only one who is reasonable. This is not perverted logic, it is the truth. Learn something, that is the correct way to deal with problems." She lowered her eyes and smiled, giving him a big thumbs up. "All right, the mighty capitalists, it's enough now, right? I'll accept your praise, but next time you have to be more careful. When you praise someone, you can even give me a kiss." Her eyes slightly raised as she looked at him and gave a shallow smile. "Well, I often praise people. It seems that I need to buy an extra lip balm in the future." William Walton glared at her. "You dare?" She smirked. "Didn't you teach me that?" William Walton turned sideways, and without caring about if she had anything in his mouth, he pressed on the back of her head and kissed her. She turned her head to the side and wiped the corner of her mouth. "Ah, it's dirty. I still have food in my mouth." "I don't mind. You can swallow it down and try again." Upon hearing his words, she immediately stuffed 2 mouthfuls of rice into her mouth. With a provocative expression, she stared at him with a smile. "I loathe it." William Walton looked at her and said with a doting smile, "I'll remember, the praise I'll teach you is only suitable for me." He was truly funny. Could it be that when she was praising someone, she was actually kissing that person? Wouldn't that turn her into a lunatic? On the second day, near noon, she received a call from Earl. Earl said, "Laura, my mother cooked something to nourish your body and asked me to send it over. She doesn't know about the matter of you being threatened by Fiona, and I have no way of telling her, so I'm currently in front of your school." She smiled. "Auntie is really considerate. Thank you so much. I will go and get it now." "Don't, Laura. Don't come out yourself. Ask a male colleague of yours to help you get it." Hearing Earl's words, she knew that Earl was doing this for her own good. He didn't want to cause her any more trouble. "Earl, please wait a moment." "All right." Hanging up the phone, she called Mark. In the end, half an hour ago, Mark brought a student to the hospital. "All right, you can do it first. I'll look for someone else to help me." Just as she was speaking, Teacher Mia opened the door and entered. When she saw her put down the phone, she asked, "What for?" "Help me get the food from the entrance. My brother is here to deliver the food to me." "I'll help you." "No," she said warmly. "We need to find a male colleague." "You want to differentiate between gender after taking a meal?" His ex-girlfriend is so weird. That day she saw us chatting in the car, so she secretly took a photo to use as a threat. This brother of mine asked me to find a male colleague. It's mainly because he's afraid of implicating us. Ex-girlfriend? A woman like that is indeed a failure. You don't need to worry about it. I'll go get it. Mia placed the folder on the table. He should be at the main entrance, right? Yes, but it's fine. Mia patted her shoulder when he walked to her side. What's the name of your big brother? Earl. All right, wait for me. After Mia left, she even called Earl warmly to tell him that the one who went was the female teacher. Earl said somewhat guiltily, Laura, I'm really sorry I caused you to be worried because of me. That's not a big deal, don't take it to heart, you just have to be fine. Don't worry. Mia came to the school gate and looked around. Seeing that, Earl got off the car with the thermal box. The first thing Mia saw was Earl, who was wearing a gray suit. Looking at Earl's face, Mia's gaze was a little stiff. Earl walked closer to her and gently said, You are teacher Mia, right? Mia regained her senses, nodded. I am Mia, and you are Earl? Yes. He passed the thermal insulating box to Mia. This is for Laura. Inside is my mother's food. If you don't mind, you can eat it with Laura. Mia's face was slightly red. She shook her head. You're welcome. Then I'll leave first. Mia nodded. Goodbye. Earl nodded to her, then turned and left. Mia took a deep breath and turned to walk back into the school. Walking a distance away, she stopped and lightly patted her own face. Mia, don't be an idiot. Returning to her office, she placed the thermos box on her desk. Thank you, teacher Mia, she said. She opened the lunchbox and saw that there were a lot of dumplings inside. She stood up and walked to the small cabinet at the side and found 2 forks and gave one to teacher Mia. Let's eat together. Mia took the fork and asked, Your brother, he broke up with his girlfriend? Yeah, just a while ago. His girlfriend is pretty extreme. Yes, he is clearly a very proper person, but she is always looking at him with worry. As long as a woman appears by Earl's side, no matter how pure her relationship with Earl is, she will not be able to relax. Think about it. She would even suspect that I have a boyfriend. Even after the 2 of them broke up, she still sent people to monitor the Earl. That Earl is quite pitiful, Mia said, then asked, How old is he? After looking at her for a moment, she suddenly laughed. Mia blushed. What are you laughing for? Earl is 29 years old this year, and is currently the manager of a shopping mall. He had always lived abroad previously, but because his girlfriend was too suspicious, he was unable to continue living abroad. Thus, the 2 have come back to develop, but now they've broken up. Then she continued, Teacher Mia, wait until the relationship between Earl and her is completely smooth. Let me introduce you to him. Mia laughed out loud. Normally, I would say that I should be being formal. There's no need for that, but the idea is, I'd love to. She said with a warm smile. I know, this is the first time I have discovered that you would be interested in someone. All right, Teacher Green, don't joke with me. Teacher Mia had such a natural personality and was also a kind person. Deep in her heart, she felt that she should introduce Teacher Mia to Earl. Heh, she was really happy just thinking about it. Chapter 228. Mr. Walton is a small hand at provoking others. At noon on Friday, she had fallen asleep in her office chair. When it was time to go to work, she still wasn't awake. Mia gently pushed her. Teacher Green? She opened her eyes in a trance. Mia said, Wake up. Why are you sleeping so soundly these past few days at noon? Lying down for a few seconds, she slowly sat up and rubbed her glabella. I probably haven't been doing much lately, so I feel relaxed, she said, getting off the recliner, rolling up the blanket and folding the recliner. When did Teacher Sabrina and Mark leave? Mark just left. Teacher Sabrina has been walking for half an hour. Yawning, she sat down at the desk. How strange, she had clearly just woken up. Why was she still so sleepy? At around 3 o'clock, she went downstairs with Teacher Mia and headed to basketball court. But today, the basketball court's entrance was different from before. The 2 of them were far away from the basketball court, and they could see that there were many people surrounding the entrance. They looked at each other, and Mia said, Why are there so many people over there today? Let's go take a look, she said, pulling on her wrist. As the 2 walked closer, a student shouted, Teacher Green is here. Then someone ran towards them. Laura was stunned. What's going on? A man ran over to her first, asking her in all seriousness, Miss Green, I'm the reporter from the press. I want to interview you with a few questions. A reporter? She stunned. I'm sorry, I'm just a mortal and won't be interviewed by reporters, she said calmly. Mia also said, Journalists, this is a school. For you to barge in like this and interview our school's staff members without getting permission from the school is not in accordance with the rules. We will only ask a few simple questions. A lot of students just now replied that the girlfriend of Mr. Walton is not the young miss of the Anderson family, but at this school she is called Laura Green. May I ask, are you the lover that they spoke of? She had guessed that the reason she was being chased by the reporters might have something to do with William Walton. Sorry, like I said, I don't accept interviews with reporters. I won't answer any of your questions, so please leave immediately. After saying that, the surrounding reporters had no intention of leaving. They continued to ask questions about her and William Walton. For example, when they met, how they met, and when they became lovers. There were also reporters who asked her if she was William Walton's lover. Was it true that William Walton and Betty Anderson were going to get married together? Hearing these questions that caused her head to hurt, Mia, who was at the side, looked worriedly at Laura. She then said to the reporters, If you guys continue to ask, then I'll have to look for security. Outside of the encirclement, some students shouted out, Teacher Green, why don't you admit that you and Mr. Walton are a couple? Weren't you showing your love on campus a few days ago? With students jeering around, this was what gave her the most headache. With the reporters not leaving, the 3 sides were in a deadlock. Just then, the students of the basketball team squeezed into the crowd. A dozen of people surrounded, and Laura then turned around to face the reporter. They were all tall and strong, completely blocking the 2 women. Amongst them, the leader of the basketball team walked over to Laura and smiled. Teacher Green, Benjamin wants me to inform you that your rescue personnel are on their way. He wants you to hold on for a few more minutes. Rescue personnel? Who, Benjamin? What can he solve? The members of basketball team surrounded them tightly as Mia whispered, This group of children actually give people a sense of security. She smiled at her. Who said that wasn't the case? A few minutes later, there was a commotion from outside the crowd. Of course, the 2 women inside could not be seen at all. Mia was puzzled. What's going on? Ingenious, she shook her head. I don't know. At this moment, a reporter spoke up. Mr. Walton, may I ask, is your girlfriend really in this school? Hearing the question from the reporter, Mia tenderly frowned, but was instead pleasantly surprised. Lord Third is here. She perked up her ears to hear the answer outside. At this moment, it was very quiet outside. William Walton said in a voice that was neither hot nor cold, "What does it have to do with you?" The reporter froze for a moment. "Mr. Walton, I'm a journalist. It's my duty to answer questions for the public." "That's your problem." "But I need this answer from Lord Third." William Walton sneered. "Why should I give it to you?" "Lord Third, as a famous person, I don't know, but there's one thing that I'm sure of," William Walton said as his eyes grew cold. "I'm not a public person. I'm not willing to speak of my privacy." "That's my problem. If I'm not willing to speak of it, does it even have anything to do with you? A small journalist wants to cause a ruckus in front of me? What, you think you're Trump?" A burst of laughter came from the surroundings. The reporter's face turned green and red. "Mr. Walton, by saying this, you are implying that your privacy is here?" William Walton raised his eyebrows and took a step forward. After the reporter finished speaking, he instantly felt some regret. William Walton's aura made him scared. William Walton stretched out his hand, and the reporter immediately turned his head to dodge. But William Walton only turned the reporter's chest plate to look at the staff who were following him, and said, "Call Daniel. I will only give him an hour, so that America Daily will disappear from the media circles in Philadelphia. Also, put a ban on him in the media circles in the entire country, and no one can hire this brat as their reporter. Otherwise, whoever accepts him, I will flatten their company." "Yes, Mr. Walton." On the other side, his face was livid. "Mr. Walton, I just want to report the truth. I don't want to be your enemy. You dare to pester me like this. Who knows if you will go out and bully innocent people using your identity as a reporter. You're just a journalist, not a god with a sword in your hand. Don't take yourself too seriously. If you are that professional, if you really love your job so much, then many of you are the lowest of innocent people who need your camera to record the truth and help them. Now, you dare to come and make fun of me. It's simply because my gossip allows you to earn more money and makes you more famous. But you've truly found the wrong person. Today, I'll deal with you for the sake of getting rid of all the harm in the world of journalists." As he said that, his eyes swept across the surrounding reporters. Who still wants to follow the old path of American Daily? You guys just have to provoke me. I'm warning you guys, if anyone dares to let me see anything related to me, the teaching staff, or students of Philadelphia University in the media, I will definitely make you never be able to turn your backs again. The surrounding reporters looked at each other before leaving one by one. The few students of the basketball team who were surrounding Laura and Mia opened up a path, and William Walton walked towards Laura. "Are you scared?" Chapter 229, Investigation on Nick Anderson. She pursed her lips and smiled. "I'm fine." She raised her head and looked at him. So the reinforcements Benjamin mentioned was William Walton? When she first knew that he had appeared, she was still a little worried. But now, she was convinced. After so many questions from the reporters, not only did he not answer any of them, he even made an example of them by making them leave with their tails between their legs. A capitalist is a capitalist with his means. On Saturday morning, Benjamin Walton invited William Walton and Laura to the bar he had just renovated. It was obvious that Benjamin had put a lot of effort into this bar. This decorating style was quite artistic. He walked to the bar and said to Benjamin, "The decorations in the bar are usually quite wild. Aren't you afraid that no one will come after you have created such a literary scene?" "Oh, Laura, I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable." At the side, William Walton said calmly, "Laura was a working queen back then." "A working queen?" Benjamin Walton looked at him warmly. "Laura, you even worked in bars before?" "That's right." "Wow, I didn't know that. You're quite brave. You look like this. Aren't you afraid of being taken advantage of?" "In the bar, the image of your third sister is lesbian." William Walton sat on the seat in front of the bar. Benjamin Walton laughed. "Laura, you sure are handsome." She rolled her eyes at the two brothers and said, "You two shouldn't be able to live, right? I'm too lazy to care about you two." Smiling, she turned away and looked at the photo section on the side of the bar. She had originally thought that many pictures of celebrities would appear on the other side, but she had never imagined that there would be no pictures of celebrities here. Instead, there were many old photos. In these photos, they were all the same person. The person in the photo seemed familiar to her. Seeing that the person in the photo was still in a daze, Benjamin, who was at the bar, said, "Laura, how is it? He is handsome." She looked at him. She smiled. "He's rather handsome. Who is he?" "My second uncle was an influential figure in Philadelphia back in the day. He has a very good face." William Walton asked, "Tell me, is my second uncle handsome, or am I handsome?" "Second uncle is handsome." William Walton said to her, "I've always said that one woman would only praise her lover, so I'll give you one more chance." Benjamin Walton smirked. "In this situation, should I avoid it?" William Walton slanted him. "Why aren't you leaving now?" she said with a warm smile. "All right, can the two of you stop messing around?" The few of them were amused and laughed. She turned her gaze to the photo again and smiled. Why would she feel that Walton family's second uncle was familiar? They are not from the same world. This familiar feeling must have originated from William Walton. After all, he was an uncle and nephew, so they were somewhat alike. Sunday morning, William Walton had matters to attend to, so he temporarily went to the company. When he went to the company, she felt a little more at ease. Just as William Walton was preparing to leave after settling the company's matters, Daniel knocked the door and walked in. Mr. Walton, I found the information about the illegitimate child of Jane Anderson that you told me to investigate earlier. He walked forward and placed a document on top of William Walton's table. William Walton picked it up and looked through it while listening to Daniel. If you see it, you should be very surprised. William Walton opened the document. He did not surprised, but simply smiled coldly. He closed the document and looked at Daniel. This matter, other than the two of us, I do not wish to let a third person know. Lord Third, don't worry, I'll keep my mouth shut for sure. William Walton waved his hand. If there's nothing else, you should get off work. All right. William Walton returned home in time to eat lunch. The butler went upstairs and invited Laura down. Seeing that William Walton had returned, she walked over to the dining table lightly with light footsteps and said in surprise, When did you come back? I haven't even been inside for 2 minutes. Take a seat and eat first. The two of them sat down at the table. After eating a few mouthfuls, she put down her fork. William Walton asked, Why aren't you eating? She shrugged. I just ate too many fruits, so I don't have any appetite anymore. William Walton looked at her. Why are you like a child? You can't control yourself when eating. Don't eat snacks and fruits before meals in the future. She said, If you become a father in the future, you will definitely be garrulous to your child. What's wrong with that? I do it for their own good. How would a child know if you're doing this for their own good? William Walton laughed sinisterly. In any case, there must be a black and white face in a family. Then, if I am the dark face, wouldn't it be fine if you were the pale one? She blushed and said, Who wants to have children with you? You. I don't want it. William Walton looked at her blushing face and laughed. Oh right, I have a question for you. Yes, what's the problem? You always say that Nick Anderson was very good to you. When did your relationship with him improve? Was it always good from the beginning? She thinking about it, she shook her head. No. Then he'd bullied you before? It can't be considered as bullying. My mom rarely takes me into contact with the Anderson family, so I don't interact with my brother that much. When I was young, it was mainly because Helen Anderson always came to vent her anger on my mother. Now, what's on the news? The news about a slut being beaten up in the street. I never dared to open it because at that time my mother was always bullied by Helen Anderson like this. I still remember, at that time my mother was working in a coffee shop. Once when I came back early from school, I went to a coffee shop to look for my mother. It just so happened that on that day Helen brought my brother and Betty Anderson to go shopping. Through the glass, Betty Anderson saw me sitting on the table, doing my homework, and pointed. In the end, Helen Anderson saw me, and when she rushed into the coffee shop, she grabbed my mother's hair and scolded her, shameless. After I squeezed into the crowd, Helen Anderson pushed me into my mother's arms and told everyone that my mother was a slut and I was a bastard. She beat us both so fiercely. That day, my brother was just beside watching the show like Betty Anderson. In my memory, there are no good people in the Anderson family. Every time he heard her speaking warmly about her relationship with the Anderson family, William Walton would be so angry that he wanted to kill someone. He really did not know how she and her mother had endured the past few years. This didn't even take them seriously. Then in your impression, when did you get closer with Nick Anderson? After my brother left the country to study, he came back on holiday one year and secretly bought a lot of things. He came to my house to visit my mother and me. He even gave me a card and told my mother to take good care of herself, to protect me, to not be angry at his mother's arrogance, and to apologize to my mother on her behalf. From then on, he has been in contact with us from time to time. Why are you so curious about my brother today? William Walton smirked. Because, Chapter 230, Hotel Affair. I hate him. Looking at her expression, William Walton decided to not tell her about some things. In this world, I have never hated anyone, and Nick Anderson is one of them. She smiled. Isn't it too boring for you to act like this? The one who offended you was the Anderson family, not my brother. But I'm not happy that he hooked you. She disdainfully said, What do you mean by hooking? That's my brother. I don't care about that. William Walton said as he put down his fork and looked at her. What if one day she found out that Nick Anderson was actually not her blood brother? Would she like him? After all, she trusted Nick Anderson a lot. He said seriously, Laura, she said, what now? You should know that there is a grudge between the Walton family and the Anderson family. Sooner or later, I will have to avenge some of it. Laura nodded. You don't need to tell me this. I am not the Anderson family. However, I feel that there is still someone in the Anderson family that you still care about. Thus, I have a reason to tell you. This is also a form of respect for you. I don't care what happens to the Anderson family. My brother is a capable man. Even without the Anderson family, he would still be able to shine. Hearing her words, William Walton did not refute her, but only looked at her with shining eyes. There may be a lot of things that you don't expect to happen next, but I hope you don't think too much about it. It's just part of my revenge, huh? After a moment of silence, she said, All right. William Walton raised the cup by his side, wishing me success. He picked up the glass and clinked it with his own. For some reason, she felt uneasy. On Saturday, Aunt called her and invited her and William Walton to eat dinner at the Earl's family. It was not easy to refuse, so she agreed without hesitation. But when she returned home at night, she found out that William Walton was leaving for Singapore on a business trip on Friday afternoon for a period of 3 days. So on Saturday, she could only come to Earl's family alone. Coincidentally, Earl happened to be at home as there was nothing important at the mall. Her uncle and aunt did not know that she had been threatened by Fiona and welcomed them happily. Earl had a face full of worry. While her parents were busy in the kitchen, he said, "Laura, in order to not cause you any trouble, I'll tell my parents later that I have matters to attend to at the company. Please don't mind it." "Earl, I am truly sorry, because you can't even eat a meal at home on your day off." "Don't say that. I'm not sure how happy I am that you can come." Laura nodded. "That's right, Earl. If I have the time, I would like to introduce a girl to you." Earl hissed. "You're not asking me to go on a blind date, right?" She smiled sweetly and said, "That's exactly what you mean. But I don't have any plans in this area recently. But I feel that starting a new relationship is the best way to completely bid farewell to the past." Earl said with a slight headache, "What I'm worried about is that my new relationship would bring about an unexpected calamity to the other party." Instantaneously, she understood what Earl meant. She laughed. "Can't I introduce you after you've completely finished your relationship?" Earl laughed. "Let's talk about it when the time comes. I don't have any thoughts of starting a new relationship right now." He went to the kitchen door and told his parents about going to the office. The aunt was still blaming him. It wasn't easy for Laura to come. You can't accompany her for a bit. After Earl left, she accompanied Earl's family's parents to eat a good meal. Laura Green felt very comfortable. In the afternoon, after leaving Earl's family, she returned to the villa and Walton family. She had to learn as soon as she had time. In the evening, William Walton called her and reported that he was safe. After the two chatted for a while, William Walton left for the meeting. Without William Walton beside her, she slept soundly through the night. The next morning, when she was still sleeping, she was woken up by a phone call. It was Judy Allen. She put the phone by her ear and said with a voice filled with sleep, "Hello. Miss, you haven't woken up yet. I read books and I fell asleep at 1 o'clock, so I wanted to take a nap. I say, you're not the type of person who can sleep until 8 p.m. No, that's not right. I want to talk to you about serious matters. You didn't watch the news, did you?" Upon hearing the two words, news, her eyes opened. "What news? Has Mr. Walton gone to Singapore?" "How do you know?" "Of course, I know what half of the people in America know," Judy Allen said in a speechless manner. "I say, young lady, can you pay attention to the news even if you have nothing to do? What's wrong? What had happened? Your idol have a girlfriend. What, that Betty Anderson from the Anderson family arrived in Singapore on the same flight as your Mr. Walton and was captured by the reporters. They all said on the internet that they were secretly traveling. This Betty Anderson, she really can do anything she wants. Girl, you can still laugh? William Walton went to a meeting. I called him last night too. I understand his personality. He won't do anything. Betty Anderson must have been the one to do this." "Then aren't you afraid of others' words?" Judy Allen felt that she was good. She was smart, beautiful, had a good figure, but she didn't like to be on guard against others. After a moment of silence, she asked, "Do you think this is a serious matter?" "The internet is in a mess now. Everyone is waiting for the reporters to reveal the truth. Of course, it's serious. If William Walton did not do anything, they did not have any real news to reveal. I feel that the young miss of a rich family wouldn't be so scheming, and that it is better to remind William Walton to be careful, since being careful is right." Chatting for a while, they hung up. She held the phone in her hand, feeling a little hesitant. If she were to call William Walton now, would William Walton think that she was jealous? She said that she wouldn't marry him, but she was worried that he might have gone out with another woman. This was saying things out of the mouth and not in the heart. And would William Walton really think that she didn't trust him? She took a deep breath. This feeling of fear was not good at all. She turned on her cell phone, and before she could make a call, a piece of entertainment news popped up. The president of the Waltons Group, William Walton, and the daughter of the Andersons Group, Betty Anderson, went to Singapore and stayed at the same hotel.